All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So, what I'm going to call this podcast is I hated losing more than I liked winning. So, if you've known me for, I don't know, the last actually, you'd have to go back 10 years or more. I used to actually be obsessed with hating to lose. I was extremely competitive in certain things, not everything. But growing up, being obsessed with sports and playing a lot of sports, I just despised losing. I don't know where that comes from. When I lose, I'd cry. I mean, I was ridiculous, or I'd have a temper tantrum. And this went all the way into my high school years. I mean, I may not have cried in front of people. I'd have to go to a locker room, or I'd go in the restroom. I would be enraged. It was pretty interesting when it came to something that I was interested in succeeding. And that could be wrestling, tennis, it could be playing baseball, Pop Warner football, any sport or anything I was doing. Now, it had to be something I liked. So if you played board games, I could care less if I won or lost, right? Say in school, stats-wise, if you were, we were doing something academic, and there was a contest or who got the best grades or whatever the case may be, numbers, tests on scores, that didn't faze me. It was mainly physical. It was the battle. And I really think one of the reasons I ended up with my ex-wife was very, very competitive was because we were so insanely competitive to a certain degree with one another when we're later in our later teens, even when we would go play air hockey or we'd go play racquetball. I was probably a lot faster, and she was involved with sports, and so was I, but she literally can throw a football 40 yards, and we would play catch, or we would go do whatever the case may be. It could be a video game. We became very competitive, even to the point where we would go play games, say, with other couples. And then they called us the sore losers because we'd get so nuts and screaming at one another or screaming at the other couples because we wanted to win so bad. It sounds funny now. We'd just get crazy. And my first film was actually called Sore Losers because that was actually about the underground world of gambling in Chicago. And I would be called a sore loser all the time, and they were absolutely right. So, and if you know anything, I used to actually have a clothing line called Sore Loser Wear. It was a clothing line for people who hated to lose. My slogan was, it doesn't matter if you win or lose as long as you come in first. And I think, I can't speak for everyone, but I'm just going to talk from what I've lived through as far as somebody who was extremely competitive, even gambling. So when I was younger as well, 20s, 30s, even maybe sometimes in my 40s, I gambled. I actually used to travel all over the United States. We'd go to different casinos, boats, including funny places like Yucaipa, California. We'd go to Indian reservations, Biloxi. We'd go to the Bahamas, obviously Vegas, Atlantic City, all these places. I even went to Vegas on my honeymoon. And that was another thing. My ex-wife loved gambling, and she was pretty good at poker. Right before we got divorced, I took her to a big poker tournament, and it was a trip for the Poker World Series. You got a free entry, and she won it. And it was funny, we were kind of like a team. We knew we were getting divorced, and we knew a lot of people there. We went, it was like a big fundraiser thing for a high school. And I just would get her, sometimes when we'd go to a casino, depending on who was hot, who wasn't, we'd get up and we'd work as a team together, have discussions, get drinks for one another, whatever the case may be. It was like old school a little bit. And she won the whole tournament. I forgot how many hundreds of people were there. A lot of people. And it was fun. She didn't even go to Vegas. Like, we did that, she won it, and we got a divorce. It was kind of funny. But I remember us still being competitive that night and going our separate ways. And I'm like, like you're kind of bumping fists like, yeah, we still got it. But I'm going to tell you something. If you have, I almost call it an addiction to hating to lose, it can make you crazy. I know it made me crazy for many, many years. And when I kind of got rid of the addiction, it helped my life unbelievably. I kind of switched it instead of becoming so self-centered, having to win, that I wanted to help others. And that's kind of what I'm doing with this, hopefully this podcast and other things as well. Because when I was trying to make it in the film industry, making films, like I looked at everything as wins and losses almost every day. Like, did I win today or did I lose today? And it almost like, I think that started with gambling too, because even when I was betting, I looked at life that way. What did I win? What did I lose? And then when we started taking bets, we even booked when we were younger. What did we win? What were we doing basically with the numbers? And gambling, when I was doing it, was much different. The internet wasn't even involved yet. Nothing like that. It was all phone calls. It was all still newspaper. I got out of booking right when the internet kind of came into play. Fantasy football wasn't even that big. So it was just a whole different environment. But I still looked at my life every day as a win and kind of loss column. And when things didn't go my way, I just kept looking at me losing. And before you know it, I looked at myself as a loser. And I don't know if you've ever been through that. I never used to do that because I'd win a lot more than I lost. I was kind of very fortunate, especially when I was younger with athletics. I won a lot. And I don't remember all the wins. I just really do remember the losses because they affected me so hard. But even when I was gambling, we did really well for many, many years. And then once I had kids, then I kind of got out of it just because I didn't want the chaos of it. And I was also collecting money for my father in the vending business. And I had a daughter and another one on the way. And people knew about our lifestyle in Florida. And let me grab some water. So I just wanted to kind of weed out of that lifestyle of gambling. In which I did. And then I said, I'll make a movie about it, which I did. And then I made another film after that. But when I was making my second film, and then I just wasn't succeeding a lot in my life because I thought that I would make it in the film industry. And I kept, I would accomplish, all the things I accomplished, I only again looked at the failure. So even if I made a film, I got a distribution deal, we didn't make enough money back, huge fail. I would carry that burden around with me. It was like a blanket of shame. And I don't know how you feel a lot about in life. Maybe you don't look at it as wins and losses, but I think a lot of people can relate to me where they just feel like a loser at a certain point in time in their life. And it could be regarding a relationship. It can be regarding your financial situation. You just may be confused. I don't know. Depression, whatever. I can't say I got to the point where I felt like such a loser. I could function, but from where I started and then where I ended up after the film industry, it almost basically destroyed my life. Where I just couldn't do much, and I've almost still trying to recover from that loss because I looked at it as a loss. And when you also go through a divorce, all this was kind of happening at the same time. So I'm getting a divorce, and then I'm not able to make. I went and we tried for a couple of years to raise funding to make a slate of films, which we worked really hard on, spent a lot of money, and then it ended up failing. It didn't end up going through, which was another devastating loss. So again, me being obsessed with winning, I had this string where I just kept feeling like I was losing. And the more I tried, the more I started to feel like a loser or a loss. And then I started to look at all the financial losses that I had. Also, I started to wonder at all the time I lost, trying to do these. And boo-hoo for me. I was very fortunate my entire life. I always said I was healthy. I got to go do whatever I want to do. And I didn't succeed at the level I wanted to succeed. And I realized there's obviously millions of people out there that are not succeeding. At this point in time, I think my ego was so big, I never thought I would fail. But what became quite embarrassing and what I learned about myself is I think what I wanted to always succeed and win was for my parents. And then I wanted to win for my daughters, obviously, and my ex-wife, or then even after she left, or whoever I was with, if I was dating somebody. I wanted to win because I wanted them to win. And I felt like if I was a winner, it made them a winner. And they were attached to a winner. And a winner was somebody that I looked up to, I think, in my life. So I wanted them to look up to me. And that would go for family members and colleagues. And I remember when I would have premieres for films and hundreds of people would show. and we would show the film. I was very, I was pretty excited, even though you'd think most people would be nervous, like, oh my God, are they going to think the film sucks or whatever? I didn't really even give a shit about that. I was just happy bringing everyone together. And I remember that with my daughter's baptisms. I would have these elaborate, huge baptisms for my daughters, even when they got their communion. And I loved all that, and still do. I still do, but, I still had to realize, I even got to the point where I wondered, because everything I did was Sore Loser, and a lot of different things, I'm still attached to Sore Loser. I own SoreLoser.com. I own SoreLosers.com, because my first film was Sore Losers, and then the clothing line was Sore Losers, so I ended up working out a deal for that. And truthfully, I have a lot of people that want to buy Sore Loser or SoreLosers.com. They just don't want to pay enough money for it. I used to own almost all the Sore Loser stuff, including .net. And then I just let them all go except for the two .com, SoreLosers.com and SoreLoser.com. And then once I let them go, a bunch of people grabbed them and turned them into political things, which was quite interesting. But what was interesting, I had the clothing line, but I started to think, like, me with this Sore Loser name, or I trademarked it and all these things, did that stigma make me a loser? I looked at a sore loser as somebody who hated to lose. But I then started to think, I would be talking to my friends, and I had a partner who worked with me and other things, I'm like, is this actually working against me? Because I remember hearing about the company Tap Out. When people first heard about Tap Out, nobody wanted to wear it because it was like you were defeated, or you were saying, hey, I tap out, when it was quite the opposite. You wanted to tap someone out. That's how I looked at Sore Loser wear, or Sore Losers, that you weren't losing, you just despised losing. So that's what you were kind of making a statement by wearing that shirt or that cap. I mainly did T-shirts, golf shirts, caps, and all these different things. I'm not here to promote that because I haven't done that in a long time. Maybe I should have stuck with it. Maybe I was a little ahead of my time, because then it seems like now more raunchier things work pretty well with clothing lines. And this goes back at least probably 10 to 15 years when I started that. But I'm here to tell you one last thing, is if you can't always get caught up in being obsessed with the losses. You've got to look at, really at a lot of what you've gained and what you've won in life. If you have children, that's a huge win, and especially if they're healthy. If you're in a healthy relationship, that's a huge win. And even if you get a divorce or breakup, you got to look at all the good that a lot of times came within, those days or those years or months or whatever. Everybody just looks at the end sometimes as the loss. Things usually, for the most part, end, and they end badly. We have to accept that. If it wasn't bad, it wouldn't end. But like a lot of things, they do come to an end. But, back to losses, financially, I know it makes a lot of people crazy that they've lost a lot in their life. They could have lost their home, their car, loved ones, all these different types of things. It's hard. It's brutal. But you have to move on. And I'm not going to sit here and start preaching about like what you got to do in your life, but just don't get caught up in the losses. I'm not saying not to learn from them. Don't let it kind of, what happened to me is where you just, and it may happen to you, but like just losing constantly. Even though I was losing certain things, I was too focused in on the losses. And then I wasn't really acknowledging all the wonderful things that still surrounded me in my life. So, good days, bad days. I always talk about it. Good months, bad months. Good weeks, bad years, good years, whatever the case may be. But, if you're a professional athlete and your livelihood depends on wins and losses, that's a whole different thing. I am not that. So I'm not talking to those people because that's their livelihood and their job. And obviously, if you're a stockbroker or many other things, you are judged, your job or finances, wins and losses again. And I get it. I'm not telling you not to accept your losses because, like I said, that's how you learn. But if you're obsessed with them like I was, and you can't sleep at night, or you're getting crazy, even, it's actually deteriorating your life instead of helping you. You better have, I talk about that, you better have a backup plan sometimes in life, even though like somebody's like, oh, you got to be all in and shit like that. And I don't mean a backup plan like if I fail at this career, I got to have this. I'm saying an emotional backup plan, because you're going to lose in your life. I got a news flash for you. You are not going to always win. I don't care what it is in life. You are not going to be 1,000% or 100%. Whatever the hell you think you're going to be, you're going to have a lot of losses in your life. I don't care at what age. You're going to lose. Now, if you never lose, then you're not taking any risks. So I'm going to end it there. So I don't want to hear any bullshit that people that are, you think a lot of times, you think they're extremely successful and all they went through in their entire life was success. Even if you look at the owners of professional sports, or athletes or professional owners, they lose all the time. Not everybody's winning a Super Bowl. Not everybody wins an NBA title. Not everybody wins a Stanley Cup. Not everybody wins, whatever the case may be. Not everybody's going to win a gold medal. Not everybody's going to make $1 million. Not everybody, there's way more losses than wins. Get over it. Don't let it destroy your life. All right? I'll wrap it up there. If you get a chance, check out my YouTube channel. I've been posting a lot of things on fitness lately and places I've been traveling. I was just in Hawaii, did some stuff in Baker's, California. Where else was I? But mainly a lot of gym stuff. So if you're looking for some advice regarding fitness, I've been putting a lot of stuff up there. Oh yeah, I've been doing car shows. I just did a car show, another one in Winter Park, Florida with my father. That was kind of cool. And I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can check out more about me on richcelenza.com if interested. All right, take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.